of the quiet village of Apala, a small but vibrant place, lived a man named Sairato. He was known for his two skinny cattle, Punda and Cheche, who looked like they could be blown away by the slightest breeze. But what made Sairato famous, or rather infamous, was not his cattle, but the unbelievable amount of milk that came from his humble half-thatched mud hut. Every morning, Sairato would walk to the village market with gallons of milk. Not just one or two, dozens. The villagers were baffled. How could two scraggly cows produce enough milk to drown a small child? Some whispered behind Sairato's back, suspecting he was hiding a secret herd somewhere deep in the forest. Others, the more superstitious ones, believed Sairato had discovered a mystical spell that made his cows fountains of endless milk. In truth, the villagers were right, in part. Sairato did have a secret, but it wasn't a herd of cows. It was a tree. Yes, you read that right. Sairato had a milk tree. Now this tree wasn't just any ordinary tree. It stood tall and wide in the forest behind his house, its trunk gnarled and twisted like the face of an old, wise elder. Its leaves shimmered strangely under the sun as if they were made of silver. But the most peculiar thing about it, when Sairato performed a certain chant, half dancing, half talking to himself in whispers, the tree would start leaking milk. Gallons and gallons of it, pouring out like a waterfall. It all started one evening when Sairato had stumbled upon the tree while searching for firewood. Tired, hungry, and fed up with the pitiful mooing of his thin cattle, he slumped beneath the tree. His grumbling stomach and frustration made him mutter to himself in a mix of curses and prayers. Why can't you be useful, like a cow that gives milk? What good is firewood when I can't even have porridge? To his utter surprise, the tree responded. A small drop of something white splashed on his arm. Confused, Sairato looked up. It wasn't rain, it was milk. Startled but excited, Sairato began to gather leaves and branches to see if the tree would give him more. And it did. But only after he sang a peculiar song, a song he didn't even know he knew. After discovering this magical tree, Sairato's life took a wild turn. Every night, under the cover of darkness, he would sneak out to the tree, do his little dance, and collect the milk. The next morning, he'd stroll into the village market, his head held high, selling milk at prices no one could beat. The milk was fresh, rich, and creamy, and the best part, it never seemed to run out. The other villagers were torn between jealousy and suspicion. Mzee Kamwaro, the village elder, scratched his head every time he saw Sairato's buckets overflowing. "That man's cows are possessed, I tell you," he would mutter. "Or maybe they've been eating grass from the spirit's garden." One day, Bwana Otoyo, the richest man in the village and owner of a whole herd of cows, confronted Sairato at the market. "You think you can fool us, Sairato?" Otoyo sneered, his thick mustache twitching. "Where do you get all this milk? My cows are 10 times fatter than yours, yet you bring more milk than all of Apala combined." Sairato, ever the quick thinker, grinned widely. "Ah, Otoyo, my friend, it's not about the size of the cow, it's about the technique," he said, winking slyly. "You have to speak to the cows, treat them like family. When you do that, they give you their all." Otoyo was baffled. "Speak to the cows?" he repeated. "What kind of nonsense is that?" Sairato nodded, putting on a serious face. "Yes. Every morning I sing them a song my ancestors passed down. It goes like this." And right there in the middle of the market, Sairato began singing an utterly ridiculous song that had nothing to do with cows and everything to do with his love for roasted yams. The villagers erupted in laughter. Otoyo, red-faced and humiliated, stormed off, muttering about the madness of poor men. Pause, please. Are you enjoying listening to the story? Please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and also commenting if you are still interested in listening to our story. Tell us the next story you would love to hear from us. Let's continue telling our story. But not everyone was fooled by Sairato's antics. A group of men, led by Otoyo, decided to find out the truth. One night, they crept through the village, determined to follow Sairato to his secret. They hid behind bushes near his hut, waiting for him to make his move. Sure enough, just as the moon rose, Sairato slipped out of his house, carrying an empty bucket and humming his ridiculous song. The men followed closely, hiding behind trees and rocks as he ventured deep into the forest. Finally, they reached the clearing where the magical milk tree stood. The men watched in awe as Sairato began his chant and dance. The tree responded, its branches shaking as milk gushed from the trunk like a fountain. The men's jaws dropped. Otoyo, always the boldest, jumped out of hiding. "Aha, I knew it! You've been tricking us all this time," he shouted, running toward the tree. But as soon as Otoyo touched the tree, something strange happened. The tree stopped producing milk, and instead, its branches wrapped around Otoyo, lifting him into the air. The villagers gasped as Otoyo dangled helplessly, the tree swaying like it was laughing at him. "Help! Help! Let me go!" Otoyo screamed, flailing his arms. The more he struggled, the tighter the branches held him. Sairato, trying hard not to laugh, stepped forward. "You see, Otoyo," he said, "this tree doesn't like greedy people. It only gives milk to those who appreciate it." He turned to the other men, who were frozen in fear. "Go on, tell the tree you're sorry for being nosy." One by one, the men apologized to the tree. As they did, the tree slowly lowered Otoyo to the ground, unharmed but thoroughly embarrassed. From that day on, no one questioned Sairato's milk business. The villagers figured that some things were better left unexplained. Otoyo, still nursing his bruised pride, never spoke of the incident again. As for Sairato, he continued to sell his magical milk, enjoying his newfound wealth and the respect of the villagers. But he never forgot to thank the milk tree each night, singing his ridiculous yam song, knowing full well that in Apala, not all secrets are meant to be shared.